We'd like to get started. My name is Erica Riggins. I'm the city's public information officer, and in just a moment you'll hear from our elected leaders, our community members on why this federal grant money really matters for the city of St. Petersburg and for all of our residents. Their support today, along with your presence today, will help position us for one of the most competitive transportation grants in the country. Billions of dollars will be distributed nationwide, billions of dollars when it's all said and done. So in fact, you'll find reporting from all over the country, national reporting, cities in South Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Michigan, and of course here in Florida, describing how historically, the planning for interstate highways gutted neighborhoods, split up communities, and isolated thriving businesses. And today here in St. Pete, we are sharing our story. And Congresswoman Kathy Castor is helping shine the national spotlight on what happened here in our community. Please welcome the leader of our 14th Congressional District, U.S. Representative Kathy Castor.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here in Sunshine City and out of Washington, D.C., where there was enough trick-or-treating going on already. But I'm thrilled to be here with Mayor Welch and Councilmember Deborah Figgs Sanders, Terry Lipsey Scott from the Woodson, and Whit Blanton from our MPO, and Chris Steinecker, thank you for being here, and of course our Tampa Bay Rays family and so many others. Erica's right. You know, all across America right now, communities are re-examining mistakes that were made over 50 years ago when the interstate highway system was planned. A lot of redlining of neighborhoods going on there over 50 years ago. But when you look here at what happened in St. Petersburg, it just screams out for a re-examination of a way to reconnect the neighborhoods. You can see this 175 completely bifurcated the working communities of South St. Pete from downtown. And we want to look for ways to repair those historic mistakes. And a couple of years ago, the Congress passed a bipartisan infrastructure law that for the very first time created a new initiative that would allow local communities like St. Petersburg to rectify the mistakes that were made in the past. And we're here to announce today that the city of St. Petersburg, under the leadership of Mayor Welch, intends to bring home some dollars to examine just this, a way to knit this community back together. Of course, it was the African American neighbors, the neighborhoods, who weren't listened to like they should have been. And this interstate highway put right smack dab in the middle of a functioning neighborhood, a cohesive neighborhood where people were working, their kids were growing up, folks were going to church. St. Pete was a connected city. This was a colossal mistake. And I'm sure Terry and Deborah will talk a little bit about what was going on at that time, but let's look forward at this time. There is such wonderful potential here in St. Petersburg as the city grows and thrives. And at a time when the city is working with the Tampa Bay Rays on reimagining the historic gas plant district, what obviously needs to happen is building greater cohesiveness across this community. When you do that, you can provide more housing that is attainable and affordable. You can create the walkable community that so many of our neighbors are crying out for. You can connect small business owners to the folks living here so that their businesses grow and thrive. You can develop a healthier community. If you do not have an interstate highway running smack dab through your neighborhood, that means that you can breathe cleaner air. So all of this is coming together at a point when the federal dollars are available to reconnect our community. And with Mayor Welch's vision, the vision of the St. Pete City Council, all of you who want to make sure that St. Pete reaches its full potential, and at this historic time when we have everyone focused in on rectifying the mistake of decimating the historic gas plant district. Our time is now in St. Petersburg. So Mayor, you have my commitment. We're going to fight for these dollars. We're going to bring them home to Sunshine City to benefit all of our neighbors across this wonderful community. So my partner in healing this multi-generational mistake is our great mayor, the mayor of Vision, the one who's crafting the pathway forward. Please welcome our great mayor, Ken Welch.
Thank you, Congresswoman Castor, and thank you for your leadership and your advocacy for St. Petersburg, and we look forward to a successful partnership on this grant. For more than 4 decades, the promise of the gas plant district has remained unfulfilled. The oft-repeated goals of economic development and job opportunities, including economic inclusion for the black community, have yet to be achieved, as you can see by the 86 acres of expansive parking lot behind me. Now, Congresswoman Castor, I'm not sure that my staff knew or remembered the location of Welch's Woodyard. Terry might remember it, but it's right there. Literally across the street from us at 5th Avenue and 16th is where my grandfather's woodyard were and he was displaced for this interstate. It's time for all of that to change. And the proposed agreement that my administration has crafted with the Hines Rays Group and Pinellas County, I think, represents a clear path to that goal of economic inclusion. And that is what brings us here today. As you know, last week City Council discussed for the first time as a body the term sheet that my administration is crafting for the redevelopment of this land. And with the support of Congresswoman Castor, we've also applied for the U.S. Department of Transportation's Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Community Planning Grant to improve access and to reconnect our community to this historic site. This project is of critical importance and has a storied history. In the late 1970s, despite the concerns from residents, local business owners, and community leaders, concerns that were assuaged by promises of jobs and economic inclusion, the construction of I-175 commenced. Construction of the interstate uprooted many families and the historic African-American neighborhoods in South St. Petersburg, including the entire gas plant district. Hundreds of families and individuals were forced to relocate, and many businesses were displaced. Today, adjacent neighborhoods remain cut off by the walled, limited access highway and several one-way streets, including 8th and Dr. MLK Jr. streets, which have access ramps on I-175. The transportation facilities have created persistent barriers to community connectivity, particularly to adjacent South St. Pete communities and neighborhoods. This grant funding will support an 18-month community-informed planning project for the two-way conversion and lane reallocation of 8th and MLK streets to improve access, safety, mobility, and connectivity, and to address the environmental and economic burdens impacting surrounding neighborhoods. In addition to addressing injustices of the past and disparities of the present, this project will support the planned equitable redevelopment of this site by reconnecting neighborhoods that were divided by the interstate to downtown and other areas of the city. The projects will benefit those separated neighborhoods. We have an historic opportunity to do just what the grant says, reconnect our community and continue with our push for inclusive progress. With partners like Congresswoman Castor, we will continue our push to fulfill that promise of the historic gas plant district and our great city. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and now I'd like to introduce the Vice Chair of our City Council, Deborah Fix-Sanders.
Good afternoon. As stated, I am the Vice Chair of St. Petersburg City Council, standing here in the stead for our Council Chair, Ms. Brandy Gabbard. Today I stand here before you with a sense of profound optimism and purpose as we embark on a transformative journey fueled by a catalyst of change. the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Community Planning Grant Program. This momentous occasion marks the infusion of $1.2 million into our vision for the Reconnecting the History Gas Plant District project. This grant is not just a financial boon. It is a promise to revitalize, reconnect, and renew the heart of South St. Pete, particularly the historic gas plant district, a predominantly African American community. A pivotal investment for transformation. The significance of this $1.2 million grant cannot be overstated. It is more than a sum on paper. It is a pivotal investment in the future of South St. Pete. It is an acknowledgement of the unique challenges faced by the historic gas plant and commitment to overcoming them. This grant propels us forward, allowing us to plan with precision and purpose. Improving safety, access, and mobility. Our commitment to safe access and mobility is unwavering. The Historic Gas Plant District project, fueled by the RCN grant, will address safety concerns that have lingered for far too long. High speeds and limited access points will be reimagined, ensuring the safety of all community members. We will create pathways that are not just functional, but embrace inclusivity, enhancing accessibility for pedestrians, cyclists, and those with mobility challenges. Now, enhancing air quality for environmental justice. Adjacent neighborhoods, including the historic gas plant district, have endured environmental disparities for far too long. This grant allows us to prioritize environmental justice. Through innovative planning, green infrastructure, and a commitment to sustainability, we will improve our air quality, alleviating the burden of pollution disproportionately affecting our community. Creating economic opportunities. Economic opportunities are the lifeblood of thriving communities. The infusion of the RCN grant positions us to foster economic growth in South St. Pete. By enhancing transportation infrastructure and improving access to employment centers, we aim to uplift our community economically. This is just not about changing streets. It's about transforming lives and creating a future filled with opportunities for every resident. The main part. Preserving the heritage of the historic gas plant district. As we plan for our future, we do so with a deep respect for the heritage of the historic gas plant district. This predominantly African American community has a rich history, our history, and our planning efforts will ensure that this history is not just preserved, but celebrated. The project will be a testament to the resilience and vibrancy of our community. In closing, $1.2 million from the RCN Community Planning Grant is not just a financial injection. It is a promise of brighter, safer, and more prosperous future for South St. Pete. Together, let us move forward with determination, unity, and a shared vision for a community that thrives in every sense. Now it brings me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Whit Blanton, the Executive Director of Forward Pinellas.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I think we all understand the importance of regional transportation to connect the Tampa Bay area, St. Petersburg to Tampa, and that's always important, and even more so now with the development of the historic gas plant district and the agreement with the Tampa Bay Rays. However, it's also important that we not lose sight of the local transportation accessibility and mobility needs to ensure access to opportunity for all people and all communities in the city of St. Petersburg. Several years ago, we embarked on an effort in partnership with the city of St. Petersburg and the Florida Department of Transportation to look at options for mobility, access, and economic opportunity throughout downtown St. Petersburg, called the Downtown St. Petersburg Mobility Study. That study, with a lot of different skin in the game from different local organizations, my agency, and the DOT, looked at all different options for how we can provide a safe, accessible, and efficient transportation network for everybody here in downtown St. Petersburg. And you can see how this city has grown and how it has evolved over the last 20 years. And the thinking that we had in the 1970s and 1980s has evolved with the city's evolution. That plan developed a series of feasible recommendations that were endorsed by City Council, endorsed by the Ford Pinellas Board, and supported by the Florida Department of Transportation, including the potential conversion of one-way streets that are barriers because of high-speed travel and unsafe conditions to people getting to where they want to be. And also a commitment to examine the footprint of Interstate 175 and safety and mobility improvements to I-275 so that we can see how in tandem those combination of improvements can work best. And I have a commitment next year in FY25 from the Florida Department of Transportation to undertake an action plan for I-175 to determine the best course of action for improvements to that corridor. But it's also 8th and 9th ML King Jr. Streets that really have to be examined, and that's what this grant will focus on. So I'm very excited to work with the city, with the community, with the Tampa Bay Rays, with our other partners to make sure that we have a cohesive transportation network that functions effectively, that functions efficiently, and is safe for all users, regardless of the mode they're using. So this comes at a great opportune time, and I'm really happy that FDOT was able to advance the study of I-175 so that it can be timed with the planning and redevelopment of the historic gas plant district. That's key. We need to have some certainty in what those future outcomes will look like with the interstate. So now in closing, I'd like to turn it over to Terry Lipsky-Scott, who is the CEO of the Carter Woodson African American Museum. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Terry Lipsky-Scott, Executive Director of the Woodson African American Museum of Florida. In 1956, the inception of the U.S. interstate highway system marked a pivotal moment in transportation history. Yet, in its wake, it left a trail of devastation through urban areas, particularly impacting Black communities. Through a combination of deliberate planning and unconcerned indifference, these highways cut deep into the heart of neighborhoods. In just the first 2 decades of construction, over 1 million individuals nationwide found themselves displaced from their homes and businesses. This was not a mere coincidence. It was a calculated move. Eminent domain was invoked, private properties were seized, and hundreds of communities across the nation were razed. The interstates, once symbols of progress, instead became stark reminders of racial division, cordoning off Black and brown neighborhoods. Some highways literally cut communities in half. Here in St. Petersburg, some of our communities became casualties of this so-called progress. Today, our aging highway system stands as a monument to environmental injustice. I now stand united with Congresswoman Kathy Castor, Mayor Ken Welch, our City Council, advocating for restitutions for our fractured communities. We appeal to our federal government for a grant of $1.2 million from the Reconnecting Communities and Neighborhoods Community Planning Fund. The Reconnecting the Historic Gas Plant District project is a beacon of hope. It aspires to mend the wounds of the past and rebuild the social tapestry of our communities, fostering connectivity, prosperity, and environmental harmony. We earnestly seek the endorsement for this vital endeavor as it strives to not only rectify historical injustices, but also nurture the growth and prosperity of our community. bring down the walls. We're St. Pete, and together we'll rise. Thank you.